Banditos, we did it. We got this rifle to work with the chain killer, and we're using it for the reanimated global event. Why is this a big deal? Because with this rifle, the enemy doesn't even have a chance to escape your warpath. Hit like if unique and effective builds are for you, and comment no escape to support the channel. This is a really important build, especially for the reanimated global event, which this one is extremely tailored to, and it's perfect. But before we get started, I will let you know that this is such a good build. I will be making another build video in the near future where I will modify this to run in heroic content with all 5 directives and no global event. But you will want this version too, not just for reanimated, but for the upcoming global events like Golden Bullet. Now, it's built around the M1A CQB, a highly celebrated weapon in the Division 2. It's a beast. Now, you're gonna want to pay attention to every detail of the build because we had to perfect it in order to get it to work perfectly. These mods are important. I got a 3% headshot damage mod here. I got 5 extra rounds. I got 10% reload speed and the 20% stability suppressor. So the CQB is cool because it's got 320 RPM and a mag size of 15. I put out this pistol build for the reanimated global event just the other day. And if you're running it, you're probably thinking there's no better build in the Division 2 for this event. Well, now there is. I do actually think this build is better. That one is really unstoppable. It really is. I mean, it's an amazing build. This one is different, but similar in concept and even better for a few reasons that I will explain. For one, range. The other one is fully focused on the pistol. This one is extremely focused on the rifle, but all weapons are usable. This rifle's got nice range, so you can push out to 60 meters or so before you get any damage drop off. And that's part of your lethality and why the enemies can't escape, because you can tag them in the back and they will die with a single bullet using this build, and I'll show you why in a moment. But also the RPM and mag size, so basically it makes it very, very good for spawn killing. I mean, absolutely amazing. When that spawn door opens, I just wham on that trigger in the general area and they all die. And when the smoke clears, there's nobody standing. And that's exactly what we want to do with such a large mag. Now, 15 rounds in the mag doesn't seem like a lot, but for a one-shot kill headshot build, it's an amazing amount of ammo. And so what I do with that extra ammo is I just kind of aim in the general area of where the enemy's head is, and then I just spam the trigger, so I'm spamming headshots. And that's really unique and very helpful, especially if you're not a precision headshot person. But what that's doing is improving our time to kill. You're probably asking, how do you improve a time to kill on a one-shot kill build? Great question. So one-shot kill builds are already the fastest time to kill in the game, right? It takes 1 bullet, so it's instant death. How do you beat that? Well, with one-shot kill builds, time to kill isn't really in the kill itself. It's in the acquisition of the target, or what's happening between kills. And so the longer it takes for you to put out shots or acquire a target, then the longer your time to kill and your vulnerability is increased. So for example, if you use a bolt action rifle, sniper rifle, or something like that, then after every shot, it zooms out and then zooms back in, and you have to reacquire your target, which might only be a second or microsecond, but that's still a long time in which time you could take damage or lose your target completely. Now with this one, you don't zoom in or out. In fact, we're not running any scope, and so you can wham on that trigger and put out consecutive shots faster than you can with something such as the White Death. And that allows you to step in front of a door with a full load of enemies coming out at you and just crank on the trigger and take them all down without having to be extremely precise. And that increases your time to kill on a one-shot kill build because you're not missing a target. And that's again why I'm emphasizing no escape. So we got rifle damage, crit damage, damage to armor. The reload is 2 seconds. So remember, the reload on these rifles isn't fantastic, so that reload speed mod is going to be helpful along with any weapon handling you have on your build. Now the talent is determined. Let me read it first. After killing an enemy with a headshot, the weapon damage next shot landed on any enemy will be a guaranteed headshot. I know what you're thinking. This is gonna get nerfed. Well, I got some news for you. Yes, they are making changes to determined in 17.2, but lucky for us, we had Morten Ryberg show up to the stream and we had a conversation with him in live format discussing the Prophet and Determined, and we shared our opinions on what we thought should happen. Of course, the fix is all ready to implement 17.2, which we understand is going to happen in a few weeks. But what Morten said is should be that the intended purpose for Determined is that it should be body shot, headshot, body shot. And he states with Headhunter, it should still be powerful. So that's great news in my opinion, and that's actually what I thought they were going to do. They were going to toggle it between bodies and heads. So I'll still be recommending Determined on all my builds. It sounds like it's still going to be great, especially when it's paired with the Headhunter chest talent. Okay, I'm running Sharpshooter. You're going to have to run Sharpshooter, and that's because Sharpshooter is giving 15% more weapon damage to our rifles. It's also giving us 15% more stability through the talent called Breathe Control, so take advantage of that. My other weapon is the Nemesis. It's really a backup weapon I'm using against things like rogues or particular bosses, and then the pistol works like a dream. I'm running the Prophet. It's got pistol damage to targets out of cover, and perfect Determined. You can also run the D50 with regular Determined. I do want to make a note here that my expertise is level 5 on the M1A CQB. Of course, I could have made it higher, but I wanted to minimize how much I invested into it in case you're a new player. But you're going to need just a little bit, so try going to expertise 5. Remember, every detail on this build matters. Also, if you want to put damage to targets out of cover on your CQB, that will also be okay. Maybe even better. Okay, real quick on the backpack. This is a big detail. So we did a build lab on the Determined Prophet pistol the other day, and we learned more in that single build lab about Determined than I have in the entire time Determined has been released. And I've been using Determined a lot. I think it's an excellent talent. But one of the things we learned and why the memento is going to be important is that you can't have damage fluctuations. So it turns out that the Determined talent is recalculating damage on every shot and applying the new damage on every other shot. And that is intended. That isn't the bug. Remember, with 17.2, they're going to make that change, and that's why it has that variable calculation and damage, because it's not anticipating that continuous chain shot on the body like we're doing now. For example, if you're running Vigilance on your backpack and you need that in order to get your one-shot kill, and you're going along and chain killing everybody, if you take damage and then lose Vigilance, 2 kills later, you will duff a shot and that enemy will not die. And that's because you lost damage, and the talent Determined recalculated that on the kill that you applied that lost damage to. I know that sounds confusing. My point is, you want stable damage. And a lot of people are confusing that variable damage as a bug and are thinking that Determined bugs out when it doesn't get a kill, but that's probably because you have some sort of variable damage, such as maybe you're running Sawyer's knee pads and you move and you lost that 30% weapon damage from the knee pads when you apply that next headshot kill, and 2 kills later it quits on you. That's all part of Determined. So you want stable damage is my point, and the memento gives that to us. It's going to give us 30% weapon damage that the enemies cannot take away, which is why it's really good on sniper builds in the first place, and I actually prefer it over Vigilance. That's right, I do. I prefer the 30% weapon damage over Vigilance 25% total weapon damage because they can't take it away. And you can get more on the short-term buffs if you're playing into that, and we definitely are. So this is a win over Vigilance anyways. So notice I have a protection from Elites mod, and then we're also going to get the 3% armor regen and skill efficiency, but the most important part of this build is that 10% bonus armor per blue core. We're running all 6, and we have 1.9 million armor, so that's basically 1.2 million in bonus armor off a single trophy. That's 1 kill. Don't skip out on that. So we thought Hotshots is still pretty good, mostly because we wanted that weapon handling, and that 30% headshot damage was actually the most efficient way to pick up headshot damage, so we went ahead and put on the 3rd piece. But we're not using the 4-piece talent because this is not an MMR, it's not a sniper, and Headache does not work on rifles, so don't let this confuse you. So we got armor, headshot damage, protection from elites. On the gloves, it's more armor and headshot damage, and the holster is our 3rd piece with armor and headshot damage. If you're looking to be part of a strong, positive community, then I have you covered. Join Tux's Discord. We're not elitists, and we're so much more than just clans and raids. Tux's Discord continues to grow as the central hub for the player base that loves this game and wants to see it thrive. And if you love builds, this is the spot. Also, join Tux's Players Club to support the channel, the cause, while getting access to member perks and extra content like gaming music playlists. Click the join button below. The knees are pretty obvious, so we're running the Fox's Prayer. That gives you 10% rifle damage. Not a lot, but again, every detail matters because we barely got this over the threshold to work. So we got armor, damage to targets out of cover, and headache. So when I say we barely got this to work, I mean with all of the armor. So I wanted to load up with as much armor and protection from elites as I possibly could. And I thought that was important because I wanted to go shieldless and run and gun with this M1A CQB. Of course, it's possible to make this build also work with and without the event by cranking down the armor, so you would lose the bonus armor and maybe just add some other way of getting your survivability like armor on kill or more regen. There's nothing better than a blue shield, and that's what we got here, a maximum blue shield. So the chest piece is Habsburg for 15% headshot damage. We got armor, headshot damage, armor regen, regen, and protection from elites. The talent is Headhunter. This is key. You cannot miss out on this. We got 1,250% cap from our last killing blows damage. So in order to get maximum damage, you need to make sure you're at 150% headshot damage on your weapons, which isn't too hard to do. On the rifle, we have 193%. On the TAC-50, which we're using to proc, we have 315%. All the other weapons are in a good place. As far as weapon handling goes, we have 30% weapon handling on this build, and I would have added more, but we got this armor regen here in that position. Not a bad thing to have. If you're having trouble with damage for any reason, just remove some of those protection from elite mods, and they don't need to be perfect like I have, so don't sweat that issue. For skills, you can go with whatever. We're not really using the skills at all, but I think the decoy is the most important one, and maybe the riot foam. And we're running all 5 directives, so keep that in mind. But the decoy is great to throw out there so that you can acquire your first 2 headshots, which are the most important. So don't skip out on the mechanic. A lot of people think their build's not working when they first put it together. That's because they're skipping out on the mechanic. In order to get this to chain kill using the rifle, you need to get your first kill with one of your heavier weapons, like the TAC-50 and the Nemesis. It's really easy to do that on control points because they don't know you're there, so you really got the element of surprise. So I whip out my TAC-50 or Nemesis, I get that first headshot kill using that, then I switch to my rifle. You now have to activate Determined. In order to do that, you just got to get 1 headshot kill. And so you get that headshot kill, and then you're off to the races. You can shoot wherever on the enemy, and you're going to kill them. The only enemies that won't die that way are enemies with helmets and sometimes bosses. With this one, you're probably not going to be one-shotting bosses. It's going to take a couple of shots, but you can also whip out your Nemesis and do some serious damage against them. Don't forget to use your pistol from time to time to get some ammo. That's one of the real benefits that this build runs, and why rifles are really important for this style of gameplay is because you're using a lot of ammo, and sharpshooter only regenerates your ammo when you're in cover, which we are not. And with the directive Pistolero, you can't pick up ammo on the ground unless you get a kill with your pistol. And so that's why we're integrating the pistol from time to time. I try to get at least 1 pistol kill per control point. A single kill gets you 160 rounds. That's 160 kills if you were precise, which we're not, but it's plenty to get through probably about 2 control points. Very easy to acquire ammo, and this is an all directive build. Check this, no reload, 20% armor on a 1-shot kill build next.
Follow me.